Well, good morning, church family. Today begins what will become our regular weekly schedule. And as a part of that, you can expect a small daily devotional at 9 a.m. each day, led by one of our staff. And I suppose Pastor Spencer didn't care about it being started off too well, started out the right way because he asked me to do it first. But we do hope that you would join us each morning and that this would be a daily encouragement to you and your family. But anyway, if you would you please look with me to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 and 2 reads this. You then, my child, be strengthened by the grace that is in Christ Jesus, and what you have heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. And so we see here in this passage a beautifully clear picture of this disciple-making process. Paul is urging Timothy to entrust that which has been entrusted into him into others who might go on doing the same thing. We are disciples that make disciples that make disciples. It's part of our DNA. It's how we achieve our mission of guiding people to multiplying impact for Christ's kingdom. And so I want you to know from this passage, this is a responsibility that not only rests on pastors, but this is one that rests on every father, every mother, every son, every daughter, every engineer, every teacher, every accountant, every pizza driver. This is the responsibility that every Christian is called to and commanded to do. And if you love Christ, you will follow his commandments. Be a disciple maker. And so parents, in this time of quarantine, I want you to think of this as an incredible opportunity for you to fulfill this role you have been called to in the discipling of your children. Your child needs you right now to share your faith with them, lead them in their faith, and entrust into them the truth of the gospel. The second thing that I want to point out to you is found in 1 Corinthians 11, where Paul says, imitate me as I also imitate Christ. I think a lot of times, sometimes we think about being Christian as all about pointing to Christ and not pointing to ourselves at all. But what Paul is sharing here, what he's indicating, is that it's actually okay to point to yourself as a way of pointing to Christ. And so whenever we engage in discipleship, what we're doing basically is replicating ourselves. We multiply who we are. Therefore, we have a responsibility in our own lives, if we're trying to disciple others, to stand firm and mature in the faith ourselves, so that as we disciple, we'll build up other disciple makers of that same exact character. And if we're following Christ, we'll build up disciple makers that will follow Christ. Listen, if we're deliberate in the way we're supposed to do discipleship, it's necessary that we're deliberate in how we personally represent Christ. If we are called to disciple others, then that means we're also firstly called to represent Christ and conform to his image in our lives. And so again, parents, what this means is that you must be Christ to your children. The whole do as I say, not as I do thing may work for some things. I still haven't figured out what yet, but it certainly cannot work for passing on your Christian faith to your children. And so I would ask you, please pray today that God might exemplify Christ in you, may go out saying to others this exact same message of Paul: imitate me as I imitate Christ. Thank you for joining us this morning.